Hi guys, I'm Sunny and today we are making the juiciest, most succulent pork chop that you've ever had. Let's get straight into it. Alright, so we've all had dry, tasteless, frizzled up pork chops before, yeah? And the reason they've been dry is because they haven't been brined. The best way to do a pork chop is by brining it. So I'm going to show you how to brine it first to here today. So all I'm going to do is I am going to put a litre of water, cold water, into a saucepan, and we are going to create a brine. So here I've got some peppercorns, whole peppercorns, and they're going to go straight in to our brine. Okay, so straight in there. And got some coriander seeds. These are really important. They're going to go straight into our brine as well. I'm going to go in with a tablespoon of salt. So just to confirm, that was a tablespoon of peppercorns, a tablespoon of coriander seeds. I'm going to crush 2 garlic cloves, and I'm just going to put them in whole with the skins in, and they're just going to impart all their flavour. And I've got some cloves here. These are optional. I love them, especially with pork. So I'm just going to chuck these cloves in here, and they're just going to give it a hum of like sweetness and aniseed. Yeah, and I am going to chop some, let me move these out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Chop some slithers of fresh garlic, skin on and everything, straight in. Everything goes in the pool, and I'm gonna top with some soy sauce, about 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and this is gonna get a really good mix. Okay, I'm gonna let this simmer for 5 minutes. I'm just gonna, just enough time for all those flavors to infuse and make that into like almost like a rich broth. Okay guys, so our brine has been simmering for about 5 minutes. You can see it's amalgamated, all those flavors have kind of like congealed together. One thing I forgot to do was I forgot to add the bay leaf. So off camera I've added 2 bay leaves, which you can see in there. Again, this is optional. If you've got them, great. If you haven't, don't worry about it. Same with a lot of the other ingredients. As long as you've got the soy sauce, a bit of garlic, the salt, the pepper, that's the main part. If you've got if you haven't got ginger or bay leaf or cloves, then it's not the end of the world. Just if you have them, great. If you don't worry about it. It's still going to be amazing. Right, okay, as you can see, our brine has cooled down. Just look at it, it's a beautiful rich color. You can actually smell it, it looks intense. And you just know that's gonna make our pork chops absolutely delicious. Okay guys, so as you can see, this brine is done. I'm just gonna point it towards the camera so you can have a good look. That's rich, it's beautiful, and we're getting all the aromas from that, and that's just gonna intensify our pork. Okay, so I've got 2 beautiful pork chops here, and I'm just going to just slice through the fat on this side, and this is so that when we're pan frying them, they don't curl up. Same thing. Let me see if I can do it like this, just so the camera can see. Yeah, that works. And one over here. Yeah, this works. And one over here. Okay, so these little slits here, they're going to prevent the pork chops from curling up when they go into the grill. Perfect. And I'm just going to get my pan. This beautiful piece of meat here is just going to sit in our brine for 24 hours, guys. We're going to leave this to rest for 24 hours. Okay, in we go. Can you see that? There's our 2 bay leaves that we added a bit later on. Got it all in there, everything into the jacuzzi, the hot tub. All right, now we're just gonna let this sit in. You've got the garlic, you've got the bay leaves, you've got the peppercorns, you've got that ginger, the slivers of ginger, you've got the coriander, the soy sauce, the cloves, and everything's just gonna sit there 24 hours, and that's our brine. I'm going to go and put this in the fridge now for 24 hours. Okay guys, our pork chops have been in our brine for overnight now, so about 18-19 hours in total. So I'm just going to talk about these pork chops just very quickly. So once I've brined them like so now, basically this will now be the most tender, most juiciest pork chop you ever have in your life, because it's taken on all that brine overnight. So I'm just going to get a wet paper towel, and not a wet paper towel, a dry towel, just a paper towel, and I'm just going to tap these dry, right, so they can take on my marinade. Okay, so I'm going to whip up a really quick marinade, and sometimes people think marinades are really difficult and really complicated. Watch. We've got a tablespoon of honey, followed by a teaspoon of salt. Don't forget you've got that soy sauce in there and you've got salt in the brine, so you don't need to go crazy here. Followed by some pepper. Now, I like a reasonable amount of pepper, but we're talking half a teaspoon. So you've only got 2 pork chops here, so you don't need loads. And finally, some soy sauce just to balance out that sweetness from the honey. Teaspoon. And just a very quick stir. And then straight away, just get a brush if you've got one. If not, you don't need this. You can just use your hands and just and I just want to show everyone how subtle this marinade is. But when you're grilling, trust me, oh my god, it's going to be delicious. There, perfect. So now I'm going to put these in plastic wrap, yeah, and they're going to go in the fridge for another hour, and then we're going to fry them off. Then we're going to grill them off. Perfect. Okay guys, our marinated pork chops will be marinating for about, I would say about 2 hours. We were only going to leave them for an hour, but we left them for 2. So that's 2 hours in the marinade. We're just going to add some oil, just enough to coat the pan. So I'm just going to go in with one of these beautiful pork chops, and here you go. And we're going to give these about 2.5 minutes per side. I'm just going to let them do their thing, and you'll notice that the pork chop won't curl up because we've made the slices in the fat, so it's not going to curl up. Just going to have a look at it. Yeah, we're developing some colour on there. And that fat just breaks off and stops it from curling up. That's exactly what we want. So now you've got a nice flat, perfect pork chop, cooking at the same temperature with the same sear. And you can see that fat around the sides just beginning to crisp up, and that's what you want. You don't want soft fat on a pork chop, you want that fat nice and crispy. And let's have a quick look, and if it looks like that, then go ahead and flip. That's perfect. Okay, so what I want to do at this stage is I am just going to get my knife, and I'm just going to add a knob of butter, yep, into the pan, and I'm just going to baste my pork chop with this beautiful butter, just to give it that, enhance it and give it that extra nutty, rich, buttery flavour. It's going to work so well. Right, so it's done on both sides. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to leave the pork chop at the end of the pan like that, and I'm just going to let that, it's going to stand it up so that fat gets a good sear. Okay, so this is perfect. That's been about 2.5 minutes per side. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove this pork chop from the pan, and I'm going to place it on a plate, and I'm going to leave it to rest. Okay, so treat your pork chop like you would a steak. So that's going to sit there and it's going to rest for 5 minutes. Yeah, not going to touch it for 5 minutes, and just let the juices just cool right down. It's still cooking in its own residual heat, and just let it do its thing for 5 minutes before we get it stuck in. Okay guys, this pork chop's been resting for approximately 5 minutes. So I'm just going to put it on this plate like this. And you see these juices that have been sitting, that have come out. That's going to be like a little, I'm just going to get a spoon and spoon it on nicely. And that's just the resting juices, that's all flavour there. Okay, so that looks stunning. I'm going to get stuck in. Okay guys, that's my favourite part. Let's get into the taste test. Okay, straight away, it's so tender. Just chopping into it, you can just tell it's juicy and tender. Okay, look at that, perfect. Guys, seriously, oh my god. This is seriously one of the best pork chops you'll ever have. So good. Listen, make these ones at home, make sure you brine them. Pork chops, absolutely effing delicious, stunning.